The silence in the penthouse was thicker than the Los Angeles smog. It was a silence of polished marble, floor-to-ceiling windows showing off the city's glittering spine and unspoken grief. Jon Bon Jovi, his famous smile a distant memory, stared into his whiskey, the ice cubes clinking like tiny, lonely bells. His son, Jesse, now a young man of 20 with his father's piercing blue eyes and a restless energy all his own, paced the length of the room, a caged leopard in a designer t-shirt. "We can't just do nothing," Jesse finally burst out, running a hand through his tousled hair. "This house, it echoes, Dad." Jon didn't look up. The loss of his wife, Jesse's mother, had left a crater in their lives. The money, the fame, the platinum records, they were meaningless dust in the face of that void. "What do you suggest, son? Buy another car? A louder guitar?" The echo just gets louder. "No," Jesse said, stopping his pacing. He'd been volunteering at a children's hospital, a way to channel his own confusion into something that felt real. "There's this kid at the hospital. His name is Leo." Jon sighed. "Jesse, I know you mean well, but getting attached." "He's got no one," Jesse interrupted, his voice softening with a passion that made Jon finally look at him. "He's 5. He's been in the system. He has this quiet way about him. He just draws these incredible, strange stars on everything. The nurses call him the little star boy." A week later, Jon found himself in a brightly colored playroom, feeling more exposed than on any stadium stage. And then he saw him, a small boy with a mop of dark hair, sitting alone in a corner, meticulously drawing on a sheet of paper with a broken crayon. He wasn't drawing stick figures or cars. He was drawing intricate, multi-pointed stars, galaxies swirling in their centers. Jon knelt, his knees cracking, a sound that made the boy look up. His eyes were the color of a twilight sky, old and knowing. "Hi, Leo," Jon said, his rock star voice a gentle rasp. "I'm Jon. My son, Jesse, told me about your stars. They're beautiful." Leo studied him for a long moment, then silently offered him the drawing. In that simple gesture, something in Jon's fortified heart cracked open. The gravity of this small, silent boy was pulling him out of his own orbit of sorrow. The adoption process, fast-tracked by wealth and influence, was still a whirlwind. And in the midst of it, a different kind of whirlwind entered their lives. Her name was Willow. She was the new, fiercely dedicated art therapist at the hospital, assigned to help Leo express himself. She was 20, all sharp angles and soft contradictions, piercing green eyes that held a universe of empathy, a sleeve of delicate tattoos on one arm, and a voice that was somehow both melodic and steady. Jesse saw her first, of course. He was smitten in an instant, the way only a 20-year-old rock prince can be, with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. "So, you're the one teaching my brother to be the next Picasso?" he'd said, leaning against the doorframe of her therapy room. Willow didn't blush. She looked him up and down, a slight, unimpressed smile on her lips. "I'm teaching him to communicate, and I think you'll find Van Gogh was more of a star guy." She turned back to Leo, effectively dismissing him. Jesse was floored. No one dismissed him. He was Jesse Bongiovi. He was intrigued, but it was Jon who truly saw her. He saw the way she connected with Leo, not as a project, but as a person. He saw the patience in her hands as she guided his, the way she didn't force conversation, but let silence be their language. One afternoon, as they watched Leo through the one-way mirror, Jon spoke, his voice low. "He trusts you," Willow started, not having heard him approach. "He's an old soul," she said, her gaze fixed on the boy. "He's seen things. His drawings, they're not just fantasies. They're memories. Or hopes. I can't tell which." "And what do you hope for, Willow?" Jon asked, the question more paternal than probing. She finally looked at him, and for a second, the professional facade dropped, revealing the young woman beneath. "To matter," she said simply. "To leave something beautiful behind." In that moment, Jon saw it. Not just a pretty girl for his son to chase, but a kindred spirit, another bright, slightly lost star. He saw the way Jesse looked at her, a look he recognized from his own youth, a look of utter, terrifying captivation. And he saw the way Willow, despite her best efforts, was starting to look back. The day Leo came home, the penthouse was filled with a new, fragile light. The boy stood in the vast living room, clutching his folder of star drawings. Jesse knelt before him. "This is your home now, buddy. Me, you, and the old man." He grinned. Leo didn't smile, but he pointed a small finger at one of Jon's gold records on the wall. "A son," he whispered, his first word in their presence. Jesse laughed, a sound that had been absent for too long. "Yeah, I guess it is." Later that night, Jesse found Jon on the terrace, looking out at the city. "She's incredible, Dad." "Willow, it's not just a crush. It's like she's a song I've been trying to write my whole life." Jon put a hand on his son's shoulder. "Be careful, Jesse. That boy in there, he's the priority now. And hearts that burn that bright, they can either light your way or burn everything down." Below them, the city lights twinkled, a terrestrial mirror of the stars Leo loved so much. Two young stars, Jesse and Willow, were spinning into each other's orbit, their gravity pulling a broken family and a silent boy into a new, uncertain constellation. The story was just beginning. Part 2. The Constellation of Us. The Bon Jovi penthouse, once a museum of grief, began to transform into a home. Leo's star charts taped to the million-dollar artwork, his small sneakers by the door, the quiet hum of a children's cartoon replacing the oppressive silence. He was still a quiet child, a little moon orbiting the two suns of Jon and Jesse, but he was beginning to shine his own soft light. And at the center of this new solar system was Willow. Her presence became as essential as oxygen. She came for Leo's sessions, but she stayed for dinners that stretched for hours, for late-night conversations on the terrace, for the way she could make Jesse laugh with a single, dry remark. She was the bridge between their world of privilege and Leo's world of silent trauma. Jesse was completely, hopelessly in love. He wrote songs for her, clumsy, heartfelt lyrics that he'd play on his acoustic guitar, his voice rough with emotion. He'd take her on dates that weren't paparazzi-filled dinners at trendy clubs, but drives up the Pacific Coast Highway, his arm around her as they watched the sun dip into the ocean, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet that rivaled Leo's drawings. "It's like the whole universe is one of his pictures," Willow whispered one evening, her head on Jesse's shoulder. "It's not as beautiful as you," Jesse said, the cliché feeling true on his lips. Willow turned to him, her green eyes serious. "Don't say that. The universe is vast and ancient and doesn't care about us. We're just stardust. Temporary. That's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes this beautiful." She gestured between them. It was this depth in her that captivated Jon as much as it did his son. He found a confidant in Willow, someone who understood the weight of legacy and the fear of failure. They talk about music, not just rock and roll, but the blues that spoke of real pain, the folk songs that told stories of forgotten people. "He's so young," Jon confessed her one afternoon while Jesse was at a lecture and Leo was napping. "He feels everything so intensely. I look at him with you, and I see myself at his age, but it's different. The world is different." "He has a good heart, Jon," Willow said, sipping her tea. "A reckless one, maybe, but it's true. He's not playing a part. This is who he is." "I know," Jon sighed, "and that's what scares me. A heart that real is so easily broken." The first crack in their idyllic new world appeared not from outside, but from within. It was a fundraiser gala for the Children's Hospital. Jesse, wanting to show Willow off to the world, insisted she come. He bought her a stunning, midnight blue dress that made her look like she'd been sewn from the night sky itself. The event was a whirlwind of flashing cameras and buzzing socialites. Jesse Bongiovi's new mystery muse, the headlines would scream the next day. Jesse reveled in it, his arm possessively around Willow's waist. But Willow grew quieter, her smile becoming fixed, a porcelain mask. She was a private person, an artist who spoke through her work, not a trophy to be paraded. The breaking point came when a particularly slick gossip columnist cornered them. "So, Willow, is it? Tell us, what's the secret to landing one of music's most eligible bachelors? Any wedding bells ringing soon?" Jesse laughed it off. but Willow froze. She saw the hungry looks, heard the whispers, "She's nobody, what's her story?" and felt the walls of Jesse's world closing in. Later, in the back of the limo, the argument erupted. "You couldn't just tell him to get lost?" she said, her voice trembling with a cold fury. "Babe, it's just part of the game. They're vultures. You ignore them," Jesse said, confused by her anger. "It's not a game to me, Jesse. I'm not one of your accessories. I have a life, a career. I don't want to be Jesse Bon Jovi's girlfriend. I want to be Willow. You think I don't know that?" He shot back. "I love you for who you are. Why can't you just be happy with this? With us? Happy?" Her voice broke. "You were in your element back there. I was drowning." She asked the driver to stop. She got out of the car, the silvery train of her expensive dress dragging on the dirty pavement, and walked away into the night, leaving Jesse stunned and alone in the plush interior. For a week, the penthouse was cold again. Jesse was sullen and hurt. Jon watched, his heart aching for both of them. Leo, sensing the shift, retreated into silence, his star drawings becoming darker, filled with black holes and collapsing galaxies. It was Jon who finally intervened. He found Jesse moping in the home studio. "You're acting like a fool." "She doesn't get it, Dad. This is my life." "No, son," Jon said, his voice firm. "You don't get it. You found a real, authentic soul in a world of fakes, and you try to put her in a glittering cage. You love the star she is, but you want her to orbit you. That's not how real constellations work. They balance each other." The words hit Jesse like a physical blow. He thought of Willow's words on the cliff. "We're just stardust. Temporary." The fear of losing her, truly losing her, cut through his pride. He didn't call. He didn't send a grand gesture. He went to her small apartment, stood outside her door, and when she opened it, her face pale and tired, he didn't try to kiss her or give her a speech. He held out a small, lumpy, star-shaped piece of clay that Leo had made. "He wanted you to have this," Jesse said quietly. "He misses you. I miss you. And I'm sorry. I was an idiot. I love you, Willow. Not the idea of you. You, your art, your mind, your stubbornness, all of it." Willow looked at the clumsy clay star, then at the raw sincerity in Jesse's eyes. The wall around her heart crumbled. She took the star, her fingers brushing his. "The universe is vast, and we're temporary," Jesse whispered, repeating her words. "So let's not waste a second of it being stupid." A small, genuine smile touched her lips for the first time in a week. Okay, they didn't merge into one star that night. They learned to spin together, two distinct celestial bodies in a shared orbit, their combined light finally beginning to reach the little boy who was watching, waiting, and starting to believe in the constellation they were building, a constellation called family. Part 3, the supernova and the silence. The reconciliation was a forging fire. Jesse and Willow emerged from it stronger, their love less of a blazing, careless fire and more of a steady, enduring flame. Jesse learned to shield their private life, to cherish the quiet moments away from the spotlight. Willow learned to navigate the chaos that came with the Bon Jovi name, finding strength in Jesse's unwavering support and in Jon's steady, paternal presence. And Leo began to bloom. With the stability of his new home and the gentle guidance of Willow's art therapy, the silent, starlit boy started to speak. Not in torrents, but in soft, thoughtful sentences. He'd explain his drawings to Jon, pointing out nebulae and binary stars with a vocabulary that was far beyond his years. He'd laugh at Jesse's silly impressions, a sound like tiny bells that filled the penthouse with pure joy. He started calling Jon Pops and Jesse J, his own special names for them. He had a particular bond with Willow. She was his star guide. One afternoon, she brought him a large canvas and every color of paint imaginable. "Show me your home, Leo," she said softly. For 3 days, he worked on it in a focused silence. When he was done, he led all 3 of them to the canvas. It wasn't a picture of the penthouse or the hospital or any place on Earth. It was a breathtaking, swirling vortex of color, a nebula of sapphire blue, emerald green, and amethyst purple. At its center was a brilliant, golden star, and orbiting it were 3 smaller, but equally bright stars, one blue, one green, one a warm, sunset orange. "It's us," Leo said, pointing. "Pops is the gold sun. Jay is the blue one. Willow is the green one." He then pointed to the orange star. "That's me." Jon felt a lump in his throat. Jesse wrapped an arm around Willow, pulling her close, his eyes shining. In that moment, they weren't a rock legend, his son, an art therapist, and an adopted child. They were Constellation. They were home. But the universe, as Willow often reminded them, has a way of testing its most beautiful creations. The crisis came from a direction no one expected. A woman came forward, claiming to be Leo's biological aunt. The story broke in a tabloid, a sordid tale of a troubled sister who had passed away, a lost child, and a family now seeking to reclaim their blood. They weren't good people. Court records showed a history of neglect and petty crime. They saw Leo not as a lost boy, but as a lottery ticket, a direct line to the Bon Jovi fortune. The legal papers arrived. A custody battle loomed. The peace of the penthouse shattered. Lawyers came and went, their voices low and serious. Jon's face became a grim mask of determination. Jesse oscillated between white-hot rage and a paralyzing fear of losing the brother he had come to love more than anything. The worst was Leo. He overheard arguments, saw the worried looks. He stopped drawing stars. He started drawing cages. He retreated back into his shell, his trust in the world, so painstakingly built, crumbling overnight. One night, Jesse found him curled up in a closet, clutching the clay star he'd given Willow. "They're going to take me away, Jay," he whispered, his small body trembling. Jesse gathered him up, holding him tight. "No, never. I promise you, Leo. We are your family. We will fight for you. You're a Bon Jovi." The words were a vow. The day of the preliminary custody hearing arrived. The pressure was immense. The biological family's lawyer was aggressive, painting Jon as an absentee rock star and Jesse as a reckless party boy, unfit to raise a vulnerable child. It was a brutal character assassination. During a recess, Jesse felt like he was suffocating. He slipped out of the sterile courtroom and into the hallway, leaning his head against the cool wall. He felt Willow's hand on his back. "Look at me," she said. He turned. Her green eyes were blazing with a ferocious light. "You are not who they say you are. You're the man who sat by his brother's bed every night until he fell asleep. You're the man who learned to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because that's all he would eat. You are kind, and you are strong, and you are his brother. Now go back in there and show them." Her faith was a supernova, exploding inside him, burning away the fear and doubt. He stood up straight, took her hand, and walked back into the courtroom, not as a scared boy, but as a man ready to defend his family. Then it was Jon's turn to speak. The judge, an older woman with a weary expression, asked him why he, a global superstar nearing 60, would take on the challenge of raising a young child. Jon stood. He didn't look at the lawyers or the judge. He looked at Leo, who was sitting small and scared between Jesse and Willow. "Your Honor," Jon began, his famous voice quiet, stripped bare of all performance. "I've spent my life singing about love and loss and faith. I've sold millions of records. I've played for kings and queens. But the greatest privilege of my life, the most real thing I have ever done, has not been on any stage." He paused, his eyes glistening. "It was the day a little boy, who had lost everything, trusted me enough to hand me a drawing of a star. He taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about gravity. It's about the force that pulls you together and makes you whole. He is my son. Jesse is his brother. Willow, she is the heart of our family. Taking him from us wouldn't just be a legal decision. It would be like trying to pull a star out of the sky. The whole constellation would collapse into darkness." The courtroom was utterly silent. The judge looked from Jon's raw, pleading face to Jesse's protective arm around Leo, to Willow's hand clasping the boys. She saw the truth. It wasn't in the legal briefs or the accusations. It was in the way the three of them surrounded the small boy, a living shield of love. The case was dismissed with prejudice. The aunt's claims were deemed frivolous and motivated by financial gain. That night, back in the penthouse, They sat on the terrace under the real stars. Los Angeles glittered below, but their eyes were on the heavens. Leo was curled up asleep in Jon's lap. Jesse had his arm around Willow, her head on his shoulder. "You were amazing today, Pops," Jesse said quietly. "We all were," Jon replied, looking at his family. "We're a tough constellation to break." Willow looked up at the sky, then at the faces of the three people she loved most. The vast, uncaring universe didn't feel so cold anymore. They were just stardust, yes, temporary and small. But in their tiny corner of the cosmos, they had built something permanent. They were a story of love, not of blood, but of choice. A story that began with a strange, silent boy and his drawings of stars, and ended, not with an ending, but with a new, brilliant, and everlasting dawn.